Welcome to Codex Rex, the video game history podcast. I am your host, Tyler.
And I am your co-host, Dax.
Dax! How you doing, man?
I am doing very good.
Probably didn't expect to be back this soon.
I did not, because
the death schedule continues. You cannot escape.
Tyler basically made this 6-part episode about id Software, and now I think he's in the flow, and he just can't stop making episodes. So maybe you get lucky and you get even another one after this one. I don't know what's happening. But he just wrote me a message, Dax, I got another episode, and let's record. And luckily I have time, so we are recording. How have you been doing?
I'm doing all right, man. Still on, the usual life stuff, trying to find a job in this crazy town, working on podcast episodes, painting miniatures. But I've been really interested in this goofy little game that came out recently called Peak. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's a game. It's like a cooperative game where you are scouts that have gotten trapped on an island in a plane crash, and you have to get to the top of a giant mountain in order to signal a helicopter to come save you. And so it's like a cooperative climbing game where you have to manage items and you have to figure out what you can climb, but it's kind of done with a goofy, almost cartoony sort of art style. So it's been a lot of fun. I played it a bunch with people. I've also played it a couple times solo, and it changes every day what the map looks like, what items are where, and so it's kind of different every time you play it. I've really been enjoying it. I've seen videos of it, and it looks a lot of fun. Yeah, surprisingly fun. I didn't think a game about climbing a mountain would be fun, but so it is.
I think it's an old theme in games, what does Ken Foley's Get Over It was also inspired by another game that was about climbing a mountain. So I think the climbing theme does reappear in games over and over again. I've been playing a game called Blueprints, and I think it is Blueprints, yeah. And I think it's one of my favorite games ever.
Really?
Yes, really. I think it's if you really commit to it, and if you accept what it is, and then you do everything you have to do, it's so deep and so intense and such a crazy riddle. I don't even want to talk about it because it's a personal experience. So,
okay.
I don't know. If you like riddle games, this game is not for everyone. I'm not going to recommend it to everybody because I think this is for special kind of people, but I think you would like it. But play it for yourself, man. Don't play it with people watching. Experience it. Dude, Blueprints.
Okay.
I've never seen something like it. It's crazy. It starts you feel you start playing the game and you're I know this kind of game, because it feels like a tiling game where you put tiles together and kind of try to make a pattern. Mm-hmm. But then you're what the fuck is happening? And then you're into it. It's crazy. Yeah. I'm not going to talk further about it.
Yeah, you're not the only person who's recommended that to me, so that's really good to know. I really like games that sort of peel back the layers of the onion, so excited to give that a go at some point. Okay, I guess we should tell people where they can find us. So you can find me on Twitch. I am Vegan Tyler. You can also send an email if you want to chat with us. You can send an email to codexrexpodcast@gmail.com. We are also on Blue Sky. We're just Codex Rex on there. And we also have a tiny little subreddit where I post stuff about the episodes. So you can find us there too.
If you want to hang out in Discord, you can do that. And if you have thoughts about anything in the episodes, you can always comment in YouTube, and we reply to those comments as well. We are really interested in your thoughts about these episodes, so do that.
Absolutely. We see everything, and we truly, truly appreciate everybody who listens to us. This podcast has always been a labor of love, and your feedback means a lot. So thank you.
We both have no life whatsoever, so provide us with some of it. I don't know.
Yes, please give us stimulation. I need it. I need something to keep me going in this bleak world.
Shall we start this episode?
Let's do it, dude.
Let's go, man.
All right. Let's go. We're going to start in a really weird place with this one. Okay?
Nice. I like weird places. I always start my episodes in weird places, so that's good.
It's a side story that's related, but also not. You'll understand why I chose to go through this when we get a little further. And just FYI, we're going to talk about a couple of kind of darker themes here. You'll see what we're going for in a minute, and then we'll kind of move on. Okay, let's go way back in time to the late 1800s in the United States. During this time, cereal, like the kind someone might eat for breakfast, is becoming popular in the United States. Why did Americans suddenly want cereal? This is mostly in part because of a few people in a place called Battle Creek, Michigan. The first that we're going to just briefly talk about is John Harvey Kellogg, who was a religious man who was the medical superintendent at a famous sanitarium in town, and it was frequented by wealthy industrialists and other clients.
I have some vague memory that Kellogg was weirdly insane,
He was
that he did crazy things, but I don't remember what exactly it was. So please tell me about it.
Well, so a lot of what his sanitarium did was get people rejuvenated with this stuff that we might think of as good for you, just broadly. Okay, so think of things like exercising, not drinking alcohol, trying to eat like what he thought was healthy food.
Guys, if you want to know crazy shit, like if you ever want to look up shit that is really crazy and how people treated other people really terribly, look up sanitariums in the 18th century. Like, that's crazy shit these people did. So Tyler might be describing, like, make them do nice things, but they will do nice things to them in terrible ways. So sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you, but this is a nice rabbit hole to go into if anyone's interested.
Well, so I won't go into too much of like what went on broadly in sanitariums. Just know that he was in charge of a sanitarium, and he had to figure out what he was going to feed people.
Oh.
He wanted them to be on a whole grain diet, and so part of what he would feed them is something he called granola, which was a mixture of oats, nuts, and seeds. And so, like, there's a whole long story of, like, where granola came from, and there was, like, this other really crazy guy who really wanted people to eat granola, and then, like, Kellogg picked it up, okay? And so, like, that started becoming popular, and he started selling a bunch of it. Then he started to experiment using wheat, and by 1895, he launched a cornflakes brand. You were laughing at the idea of a man experimenting with wheat?
Because, like, it's almost a homonym, so it sounds like a bit of weed. So I feel like this old man now started smoking joints.
Dude, he's got that dank
food.
Shit.
We're talking about, of course, wheat, the grain. Yes.
I'm heading on down to the wheat store. Damn, dude. Well, by 1895, he had launched a cornflakes brand. Now, there hadn't really been a market for this type of thing in the United States before, so it became popular immediately. And I think somewhere that I read that, like, his granola mixture was so popular he was selling like a few tons of it in a month, like not in like the figurative form of the word, in like the measurement form of the word. Okay, one of his former patients from the sanitarium was a guy named Charles Post, who was so impressed with this whole thing that he also made his own cereal called Grape Nuts. Funny thing about grape nuts, it contains neither grapes nor nuts. Okay, but fine. Okay, now, Kellogg's brother, William, broke away and started the Kellogg Toasted Cornflake Company in 1906. All right.
Shit, that's a lot of drama that we are not going to get into.
Well, we're going to get into some here in a second because there's a really fucking weird undercurrent that we need to talk about. See,
okay, when will Tony the Tiger show up?
Tony the Tiger might have some dark origins here. See, the popularity around cereal was tied to some really weird pseudoscientific beliefs that were going around about healthy eating. Some people thought that by eating certain diets, particularly bland diets, they thought, well, maybe eating is the focus on how you could prevent things, which, like, okay, makes sense.
That's such an American Puritan idea. Like, if we just suffer enough and we, like, if we make ourselves enjoy life the least, it must be good for us.
It is really funny that you say that, because have you ever heard of graham crackers? Do you know the food graham crackers?
No, I don't.
Oh, shit. Okay, maybe you just don't have them in Germany. Okay, so think of, in the United States, they're sort of like these flavored squares. Okay, you might like, okay, do you know what a s'more is? Do you know what a s'more is?
No.
Fuck. Okay. All right. Real quick. Damn.
Brother Tyler,
differences.
do you want one of these flavored squares? Yes, Brother Doug. I will take one of the flavored squares. What are they flavored of? They are flavored with nothing. That's why we call them flavored squares.
God damn, I'm turning so red.
Joy is sin, Brother Tyler. Stop laughing.
Well, okay, graham crackers. Graham crackers are like crackers that are like large squares. Okay, and they're made of wheat. And in the modern day, they are flavored. And what they are probably most known for is that you use them in different things. A lot of people don't eat them like on their own. But the most famous way I think you use graham crackers is you take a marshmallow, you toast it in the fire, you put it like some chocolate in there, and then you make like a little sandwich with graham crackers on the outsides, and those are called s'mores. It is Americans fucking love s'mores. Okay, I cannot believe you've never had a s'more. We will make this happen.
I hate marshmallows, but okay, we can do that.
Okay. Well, you were kind of on the right track. We're in tangent world. Okay, so just roll with me. But graham crackers.
We're not talking about video games, man. This must be a tangent.
So Sylvester Graham, the guy who invented graham crackers, for example, thought that lust was harmful to the body. Just being lustful, having lust at all would physically harm you. And the way to fix this was that you should eat a bland diet with a focus on whole wheat, and that would keep people from masturbating. He even led an entire movement on this in the 1800s, okay? So, similarly, John Kellogg, who we're going to abandon here in a minute, he wanted to keep people from disease and degeneracy. And then he started peddling ideas that one could gain, quote, superior traits from eating foods which you would then pass on to your offspring. And he got so into this that he started becoming really enamored with really racist theories of eugenics. And then he even started something called the Race Betterment Foundation.
Nice,
now, his brother William's...
I want to give a really hard... I want to give like a really... This is very sarcastic, Dax. I don't really think that eugenics is cool. This is... I like it. Just to make
I knew
clear.
The sarcasm. Well... Glad we cleared the air.
Just to give some context, the ideas of eugenics were very popular.
Yes.
Or even were gaining a lot of popularity at the time, and would become even more popular until mid-20th century. And then in the US, it would take like eugenics was very popular in the US, even I think up until the 70s.
Unfortunately,
yes. But in the rest of the world, it kind of dwindled in the mid-20th century.
Right. Now, his brother William's company eventually moved away from the weird principles of the family, and then the company moved out of family control. But Kellogg's still exists today. So does Kellogg's Cornflakes, and so does Grape Nut cereal. But the reason I told you this whole weird backstory is, one, I thought it was bizarre, and I wanted to highlight how how weird some Americans were at this time about how they thought that just eating whole wheat would cure the perceived evils of the world. And there was this weird puritanical bent to it. If you want more on this, there's a really hilarious episode of the podcast called The Dollop, called Cereal Men, that I listened to years ago that I remember being really wild. Patton Oswalt joins them for that one. And that's like a way deeper dive. Okay.
Cool.
So we're going to cast off Kellogg and that, and we're going to talk about somebody else, but we're still not at video games yet. Okay.
Cool.
In 1894, a man named William H. Danforth established an animal feed company called Purina Mills. He formed a partnership with two other men, and they created brands of animal feed that they called Chow.
I know. Purina still sells animal food. I think I bought Purina food.
They do. it's the late 1800s. They create this animal feed that they call chow. So Purina dog chow, Purina rabbit chow, Purina monkey chow. You get the idea.
Are we going to get into animal eugenics or something here? Like,
no, this is not the start of those games where you like breed animals for specific traits. It's not kind of games.
Is this the Wobble Dogs episode? That's it.
No, I don't think that. I love Wobble Dogs, but I don't think Wobble Dogs has the same cultural significance as it. Is there a need for a Wobble Dogs episode? I don't know. But, okay, so it's 1900, and Purina Mills makes the decision to create cereal for human consumption. Now, my take here is that they probably wanted to get in on this aforementioned cereal trend that was sweeping the nation. Okay, I have pictures here. There's Ralston Purina cereals, right? It shows like appreciated today in 1 million homes. And it shows like, oh, like you can get Ralston breakfast food and flour and barley and hominy grits and all this stuff. And then there's like an old advertisement here on the right that's like showing like all these children what they need because they must eat wheat.
Children need whole wheat proteins to build firm flesh and muscle. The flesh is weak. Be more grain.
Children need whole wheat vitamins to keep well.
Children love its fine flavor.
Children love Ralston, the whole wheat cereal.
Oh boy. Okay, this is good advertisement. I like it.
Okay. He gets really into cereal because, like I said, there's this cereal craze that we mentioned. And then he started reading these materials of this guy named Webster Edgerly, who was writing these weird self-help books about all kinds of shit. Mostly stuff about like health, diet, exercise, that kind of thing. But like there's no, like he can write whatever the fuck he wants in these books, right? There's no publishing companies that really care about what you write in these books. So then he also wrote other shit about acting and how facial expressions and ventriloquism and how you should conduct yourself in society. And this is all part of this social movement that he called Ralstonism. Ralston is an acronym for Regime, Activity, Light, Strength, Temperation, Oxygen, Nature. Doc's face looks confused.
Wow.
That's fine.
Okay.
Now, I have not read this guy's books, but as time went on, Edgerly's books on Ralstonism started getting increasingly fucking bizarre. Physical exercise was supposed to only be done in graceful curves and not sudden stops and starts. Angular movement was right out. Angular movements would cause a leakage of vital force. Bathing was to be done with dry bath only. Men were advised to sleep with women old enough to be their grandmothers, but then marry women who are much younger than them. You were only supposed to have sex every 8 days at most. You were not supposed to walk in straight lines. You were supposed to put your full body weight on your toes. Following his guides was supposed to give you sexual magnetism and even power over others. One Ralston.
But what use is sexual magnetism if you can't use it? Like, if you only like imagine you've become the sexual magnet because you've been walking on your toes and not having sex with younger people than yourself, but only with old people from the old people place. But all of a sudden you become the sexual magnet and all the people want to have sex with you. But that would make you, like, if you then start to use the sexual magnetism, that would mean that you will use low powers. So that's kind of a slippery slope. Did he think of that? I really need to get that book.
Well, see, the thing is that you could use it once every 8 days, right? So you had to, like, build up all of this magnetism, but then you could only use it with grandmas every 8 days, okay?
And then you can go, like, snap, go for it. That's good. Yeah, you get it.
You are a grandma magnet at that point. Now,
cool. I'll think about it.
One Ralstonite group, the Magnetism Club of America, was founded to give their members actual mind control powers. Edgerly wrote his own language that he called the Atom Man tongue, which I read was described as, quote, nothing more than a bizarre-looking version of English. And, of course, keeping with the horrific movements at the time, Edgerly thought that doing all of this would help him to become the founder of a new race of Caucasians that would live to be at least 100 years old, would have no illness, and he thought that all other races should be castrated. He moved to New Jersey, where he thought that he would start a town of Ralston Faithful.
This is like one of those New Age cults, like Om Shinryoku,
Yep.
or what was the American one called, where everybody was killed with Kool-Aid?
Oh, shit, I should know this. Jamestown?
Jamestown. Yes.
Yep. But it was the early 1900s,
Yeah,
and you could fucking
much
say and
earlier.
do anything you wanted
Crazy.
back then, so... Yep.
So there was definitely something, like in those cults, always fishy stuff is going on, so that was probably a criminal organization.
Who knows? So, remember Danforth, the guy who started Purina Mills,
Yes.
right? He's reading one of this guy's books.
Okay.
He starts making a wheat cereal that was described in one of Edgerly's books. Danforth decides he's going to seek out Edgerly, and he asks him if he'll endorse the cereal. And these two, he does, and they start a partnership, and they start making Ralston breakfast cereal. It was to be a shelf-stable wheat germ cereal that they would sell in stores, and it was so popular that Purina actually changed their name to Ralston Purina. Edgerly died in 1926, and his racist Ralstonism movement did not catch on.
Good.
But, and actually they kind of faded into obscurity for a very long time until someone like rediscovered like a bunch of his stuff and was like, look at this weird fucking crazy cult that existed in this area at the time. Okay, but Ralston Purina remained. And in 1936, the company introduced a cereal called Shredded Ralston, which were toasted wheat in little bite-sized squares.
Okay.
I'll give you some pictures here because Ralston would then get a rebranding in the 50s to eventually be called Chex, which was a reference to the checkered Ralston logo.
Yeah.
Then, with the release of Corn Chex in 1959, the squares were given a crisscross pattern, and in the 80s, Ralston sold their animal feed business to BP, and then in 1994, spun off their human operations into Ralcorp Holdings. Okay. Docs, are you still with me?
I am.
I promise you this is a video game history
Dude, I've led
podcast.
you through equally crazy stuff, but we also have been talking about cornflakes for 20 minutes, so let me reiterate. So there's a cornflakes brand called Ralston, and they make cornflakes.
They make little bite-sized squares called Chex. Have you ever had Chex?
No. Have you?
Yes, absolutely.
Nice, cool.
All right, so let me tell you what Chex is. So Chex were these little sort of semi-bland squares. I would not call them like bad. They're just
Brother
kind
Tyler,
of like
These
I would
taste
call,
wonderful. I've tasted nothing as wonderful as this. But why, Brother Ducks? Because they taste semi-bland. Half divine and half double divine because they taste of nothing. And I love nothing. Because taste, enjoy your sin, brother.
see, they had to be little checkered squares so that they had holes in them, so you could taste more of nothing.
That's good. Yeah.
Okay, I will tell you from personal experience. This is a cereal that my mother would occasionally buy when I was a kid for various reasons. One, it was kind of like a healthy cereal you could give kids. It's not particularly bad for you as far as cereals go. But the most popular way to consume Chex, I think, is to make what's called Chex Mix. And Chex Mix is a snack where you take these little squares and these little cereal squares and you put a whole bunch of stuff in with it, like nuts and some other like chip type things, like crispy type things. And then you'll put like butter and some other, well, depending on the recipe, like butter and some other seasonings. And then you bake it.
Whoa.
And it becomes like this like seasoned, really yummy snack. So like like in my
Sounds
family,
nice.
like my grandmother made the best Chex Mix, and I would go over to her house and we would make it together. And like my mother even made me a batch recently, but I don't eat Chex normally, and I don't think a lot of people eat Chex normally. But that's Chex, okay?
This sounds like good grandma food, like something that only grandma
Yes.
does well, but it's actually like just stuff from the store that she just throws together, and she just knows what kids like, because it's butter and sugar. So yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, actually, one time she asked me if I wanted to know how to make something, and I was like, no, because I like it like the way that you make it. I just want you to make it, right? Like, once I know, it will demystify how delicious it is. And like Andrea told me later, she's like, yeah, I asked. It's just like, it's super easy. But, okay, so now you know Chex. I'm glad that I went through this whole fucking thing of where Ralston came from, and now you know Chex.
Good, it's important. And it will absolutely help me in understanding what is to come next, right? Because this is a video game history podcast, and having basic information
It is.
Like what Chex are, which is food, is very important. It's very important to understand the video game history related topic. It's going to be nice.
Okay, so you may be asking, how is a cereal company with incredibly bizarre origins going to get us to a video game? Well,
yes, that is a question I have been asking.
In 1996, Ralcorp announced that they were being purchased by General Mills in the later part of the year. At this time, an ad agency was hired called Waters Molitor to determine how they might reinvigorate the Chex brand. Because, as you might imagine, Chex wasn't particularly fucking cool, okay? And they want to do something neat.
I just made an inside connection how cornflakes connects to video games, because one of my first video games was published by Kellogg's.
What was it?
Like, not my first, but one of my first. It was a Tony the Tiger game. It was a jump and run game.
Really? Well, perfect.
Yes, it was like you could play Tony the Tiger, and you could play the Toucan
Sam?
the Fruit Loop guy,
yeah.
And the Froggy. The frog guy had the underwater levels.
Oh shit! I can't remember what that cereal was from.
There was the monkey. Yeah, it's like you could like have different levels with different characters. It was really cool and really difficult.
I seem to have unlocked a core memory for you. Well, it is not about that game, but it is about something similar.
That's okay.
Yeah.
But is Ralston's idea to become young and popular to make video games? Is it the idea?
It is the idea. Well, so they're like, we want to become popular. We want to see, we want to put something in cereal boxes that is going to reinvigorate the brand. How are we going to do that? And so I'm sure at some point in your life you opened. Maybe, I don't know what laws were like in Germany, but in the United States, you might open a box of cereal and there might be like a prize inside. Okay. Like a little extra thing.
Like little toys and stuff.
Right. Yep. And they were usually little garbage, throwaway trash things. Occasionally you'd get something pretty fucking cool, but like, oh, you collect 5 box tops and send it, and you pay shipping and handling, and we'll send you a fucking Tony the Tiger shirt or something like that. But they were like, okay, we want Chex to be something fucking crazy. We want to knock this out of the park. So we want something really big. And what's hot with kids these days in the mid-90s? Video games. Remember, from all the previous episodes we talked about, a lot of attention was being put on the video game industry as being sort of like mainstream now. I'd argue that they were for a while, but just a lot of attention. Computer games in particular were becoming all the rage, and a computer game might make them look modern. So General Mills / Ralston gave $500,000 to this company and said, you have 6 months to make a game. The game that they had in mind was... Go ahead.
Is this how Resident Evil got its funding?
No, this is not the origin of Resident Evil.
No? Okay. Man.
If only.
I always thought it was like a game about food too, because the zombies eat people.
Yeah.
So it kind of would be relatable.
I mean, what are we but just big walking piles of meat? So they reach out to a company
I'm
called...
making the worst dad jokes. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, keep going.
They reach out to a company called Digital Cafe and ask for help making the game. I have some pictures. These are grainy because every picture on the internet in the 90s was grainy. I had to go way back to get these.
Yeah, and also like these pictures decay too. Like they get copied and zipped and copied and zipped, and then the quality also diminishes over time.
Yep.
Yeah, but we can still see the people. 2 guys, one holding a coffee cup and the other holding a notebook.
A little bit about them. It was founded by Dean Hires and Mike Koenigs, who are both there in the picture, as a media company. So most of what they did was develop multimedia presentations and websites for different companies. So they'd be like, oh, you want to bring your brand in, and we'll put together this cool marketing campaign. We'll build you a cool website, like that kind of stuff, okay? So nice. The ad company for Ralston approaches them and is like, do you guys want to make a video game? And they're like, yeah, that sounds great. Like, way cooler than what we usually get to do. Ralston asked for a simple game that could fit on a CD-ROM, and it had to be something that was suitable for all ages because they were targeting, I read that they were targeting like the 8-year-old to like 14-year-old demographic. They wanted to kind of make Chex cool with that demographic. And so the pitch that they gave to Digital Cafe was like an educational thing where you would like, you were in this cornfield and you had a flashlight and there were like ghosts in there. And like somehow this was going to teach kids about nutrition. Like it was really not clear to me how this was supposed to work. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if non-video game people try to pitch video games, what are you expecting?
Right.
These people just try to like, maybe they just came to them and did not want to get there empty-handed. Like they didn't want to look like idiots, so they just came up with some bullshit pitch. Like, let's just say that we want something with a flashlight in a wheat field, and they'll just do something different, and it's gonna be fine.
Right. Well, Digital Cafe accepts, but they clearly think that this is a very boring idea. Mike Koenigs walks down to Dean Hires' office and tells him, Dean, you have 24 hours to come up with a better idea. So Dean starts thinking of stuff. What if they made a first-person shooter? That's what the kids wanted in the mid-90s. Right? FPS games were all the rage.
Cool.
But if they were going to make a first-person shooter that could go in cereal boxes, it would have to be a non-violent first-person shooter.
So like something that's a bit more fun and lighthearted, which is possible.
It is.
I mean, of course, if it's called a first-person shooter, it doesn't sound like it, but you can make a lighthearted first-person shooter where there isn't blood or evil things, or you don't shoot things that are weapons.
Dean comes up.
Tell me about it.
He stays up all night, and he comes up with an idea of a game that he calls Chex Quest. In that game, he thought that maybe you would fight these like evil creatures, and instead of killing them, you would zap them back to where they came from. The team is like, cool idea. Better idea than the fucking cornfield thing. The team tosses around some designs that they could make using Macromedia Director, which was a tool that their company used for software development. Normally, Digital Cafe would only get a couple of months to work on a project, but at first they were like, oh, cool, we have 6 months to work on this project. What a timeline. And then they're like, wait, that making a video game? This is going to take a lot longer than like 6 months if we're starting this from scratch. Plus, their team was not very big. So they were like, how can we save some time here? So before we do that, I'll show you their team. Here's their team. Not very big. Okay. So you can see Dean there. You can see Mike there. There's a couple of other people in here that we'll talk about here in a minute. And so they're like, okay, our team's not very big. We got to make a game in 6 months. This is a big fucking to-do. How can we save time? What if we take a shortcut and we license a game engine from somewhere? And then they ask, what about Doom? What about Doom?
Is this how you got the Doom id Software idea? Because you were researching this already, and then you got to the part where they licensed the Doom engine?
You are exactly correct, yes. I started this episode before I started the Doom episodes, and then I thought, well, if I'm going to do this episode, I might as well give the backstory on Doom. And then close to a year and a half later, and close to 18 hours of content, you guys got the id Software 6-episode series.
Awesome.
So, if you listen to those episodes, no pressure. id Software was...
No pressure. This is like 15 hours that you have to listen to even slightly understand what we just talked about.
id Software was willing to license out their tech to different companies. Plus, two of their team members, an artist named Charles Jacoby and a programmer named Scott Holman, had modded Doom levels in the past. And while they had not professionally developed games before, they knew how to tinker around in levels. Charles said, I was a huge fan of Doom. With my coworker Scott Holman, we made mods in our spare time as a creative release. Getting the chance to make a game was like a gift from God at the time.
Awesome.
They reach out to id Software, and they ask if they can license the engine to Doom. The most recent engine for Doom that had come out had been the Ultimate Doom. At this point in 1996, id had moved on from Doom, and they had already released Quake that year. And Quake had a much more advanced engine and gameplay. So id thinks that the idea of using Doom, the engine that Doom was built on, to make a game that's going to go in cereal boxes that was non-violent was really cool and innovative. Plus, because it was an older engine, they were willing to license it out to Digital Cafe for really cheap. And it required very little of them. The engine was tried and tested, and it just gave them free revenue. So it's kind of like a win for everybody. I don't have numbers on how much Digital Cafe paid to license the engine, but I have seen it described multiple times as very reasonable, which to me means I think they gave it to them for relatively cheap.
Cool.
Okay, so they got the Doom engine. They're trying to put this together. What's the game going to look like? Digital Cafe is in talks with Ralston/General Mills, and they're worried because they're like, wait, you're using the Doom engine? Like, Doom, it's an incredibly bloody, violent game for the time period. All this media attention, like, are you sure? They're really hesitant, but Digital Cafe is like, we can show you a non-violent conversion of this game. Like, we will show you that we can make Doom for children. And around this time, they also, just as a total side note, they had to get, so in the United States, the Food and Drug Administration sort of governs like what you can do with food. And so they had to get special permission from the Food and Drug Administration to approve their game because it was being put inside of a food product. So like anything that goes into a box of food has to have like approval. So they had to get special permission to put CDs inside of cereal boxes.
Yes.
Now,
fair.
I'll get slightly ahead of the story here just so I can sort of talk about a side point. This is sometimes thought, perhaps very frequently thought of, as the first video game included in a cereal box as a prize. Now, I did find a source on the internet that lists out like cereal box games, and there were a small handful listed on that page that predate Chex Quest, but I couldn't find a single bit of information on like where they were distributed, how they were distributed. Do they actually predate this? I have no idea. Further,
so as always, likely at least one of the first video games that were distributed via being inserted into cornflakes packaging.
Now, I'm happy to think of this and maybe even call it the first video game in a cereal box, but if all of you out there want to correct me, feel free. Okay, so they start brainstorming stuff. They decide that you're going to fight enemies called the Phlemoids, who were creatures from another dimension that look like slime. They come up with a story. The Phlemoids grow when they are exposed to nutritious foods, and they had taken over a research station on the planet Bozoik. Here is one of their original concepts.
Ooh, this looks cool.
The one on the left, they were going to be yellow originally, but once they got the engine, they realized that Doom had some like light palette limitations that didn't work well for yellow critters, and they thought that they looked better aesthetically as green anyway. I personally will tell you, living in the United States in the 90s, Nickelodeon was all the rage back then, and there was like, it's a TV company, and they made programming for children, and one big thing that they would do is they would do stuff involving green slime. It was kind of like Nickelodeon's thing. I cannot tell you that this was influenced by this, but if you told me somebody made a game about green slime in the 90s, I'm like, Nickelodeon had to be in the like collective zeitgeist at that time.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, you can see here on the right, those are some of the designs of the Phlemoids. They're just like shambling, walking around like vaguely humanoid slime creatures.
Yes, that's the perfect description.
As for the main...
Oozes with legs and arms and snouts.
Yep. Or there's like a flying version that has like it's in like a flying ball and it has some arms that come off of it.
Yes.
As for the main character, the Chex Warrior, here are some early concepts that you can see there. In many of them, they tried to make him look like a giant piece of cereal with a face, but then they started feeling like maybe he looked too much like the M&M candy character mascots. I don't know if you've ever seen those before, like the big talking M&Ms. So they decided instead to differentiate them from that brand, that they would go with like a person inside a suit, like an armored suit that was made of Chex. He needed weapons, so they made him one called the Zorcher. If you see here on the left, they wanted the Zorcher to look like a ray gun. And in the original design document, the weapons were going to shoot healthy food at the Phlemoids to neutralize them. And they designed, in their design documents, there was one that would shoot banana slices, one that would shoot milk, and one that would shoot strawberries. But Ralston gets back to them, and they're like, we don't know about all this because we think that this might promote kids engaging in food fighting, like picking up your food and throwing it at people.
Oh.
So they ditched that idea.
I love how responsible and considerate these people are. Like, they really think about, hey, we are going to take the engine for this incredibly controversial game made by people that did not give a fuck about anything. And we are going to really think about how we do this. I'm going to be really careful that we don't like cross any boundaries. And I don't know, but I appreciate this.
I do too. Further, if you notice, when you start looking at the designs on the right, they ditched the idea of using things that look like guns, even ray guns. And so the team did a redesign, and they ended up with weapons looking like remote controls or maybe Star Trek tricorders. And then they iterated on that design of the Zorcher for the later weapons. And so when you would shoot them with these weapons, it would send them back to the dimension that they had come from. It didn't kill them. And so Charles would draw all this stuff.
From the picture, you've just shown me the slide where all these things are basically sketched out. And they all look like things that are related to things a kid would know. Like a remote control, as you said, for either a TV or maybe an electric car or something that you can control. So it's a spoon. So these are all things that are absolutely non-violent.
Absolutely. I think what I really like about these is I really like how they tried to like iterate on Doom's designs, because they're building the top of the Doom's engine, so it was basically just a reskin in a lot of ways. And my personal favorite is that they made the chainsaw down there into the bottom right as the Super Boot Spork, which was an electrified spork. So you'd like grind it into the goop and it would electrify them back.
Oh, in the brackets you always see which weapon they override. So the large area Zorcher is for the big fucking gun. And that's really cool. Nice.
You could only get the large area Zorcher in a secret room that you could get into, I think maybe in the last level. And it was a secret room that you had to find, and it had pictures of everybody who developed it in there. It was the only way you could get the gun. Regarding sound, their sound designer and composer, Andrew Benson, said that they had to work around what they thought would be the lowest common denominator of a sound card. So think about this. This game, it's going out to millions of kids, and you want to make sure that as many of them can play it as possible. So that meant that you had to try and figure out what the lowest sound card was and then work up from that. Andrew said that it ended up making the music really funky because he had to work within these limitations, and that's why the soundtrack uses like a lot of sort of weird and percussive tones. I saw an interview where he talked about this, and I think he had an interesting insight. He said that sometimes, this is not an exact quote, but he said that sometimes limitations on what you can do can be really great for getting things done, because when you have no limits and you can do anything, it can be really easy to become unfocused. So, like, having these weird limitations on what you could make made it easier to make the sound for that game.
This is something that we always encounter. We don't have to get into it, but limitations always improve game design. They never make it make it worse.
And they make it unique, I think, too. The Flemoids have this really goofy sound that they make. Like, they make all these really weird sounds when they walk around and when you shoot them. And on where it came from, Charles Jacoby said, that was Dean Hires, Digital Cafe creative director, and Andrew Benson, audio designer, just sitting in a sound booth and acting like little kids. I don't know if there was any specific inspiration. But yeah, they just make these like noises when you shoot them. Nice. It's great. Stylistically, the game would even use Doom's level structure, having you fight enemies, collect keys, the keys open doors, just like you'd expect from Doom. Due to time purposes, there would only be 5 levels. Here are the 5 levels. All of the enemies would be reskinned. Hanging, so like in Doom, there might be like bloody bodies hanging from the walls. Here, they'd be like characters that got stuck in goop. The Chex warrior's face at the bottom was just like in Doom. When he would take hits, instead of getting bloodied, he would get more covered in slime. So your health was a measurement of your ability to move around without getting stuck in goop. You could restore your health by picking up healthy foods like glasses of water, bowls of fruit, bowls of veggies, and you could even find a supercharged breakfast that had Chex cereal in it. Dean said that they were incredibly pressed for time, but in an interview, he said that they had a secret weapon, and their weapon was the aforementioned programmer Scott Holman. You see, Scott was fantastic at working with Doom code, but there was a problem. Scott was only 17 years old, and he was still in high school. So the company would do as much as they could during the day, and they'd all be waiting around for Scott. And when school would get out, they would literally send someone to drive and pick up Scott as fast as they could, and then drive him from school to Digital Cafe so that he could make the game, and then he would work until like 11:30.
I had this thought 10 minutes ago, but I need to say it now. I think this is Mirror Universe id Software. Like, there's a mirror universe where things go well, where the Republicans don't win as many elections, and like, and there's a version of id Software where people are just like, it's not like Adrian Carmack who's like forced into this job without being asked. It's like a high school kid, and he's really good at programming, and they really appreciate him. And because they appreciate him, they try to make his life easier. And like they help him with school, they pick him up, and like one day he comes into work, like he gets angry into the car already, and he comes into the office and he's like, oh man, school was really tough. And instead of making him program, they help him with his homework and talk about feelings and stuff like that. It's like a nice group of people, and they don't think about profit that much or sports cars or shit, and they're like, hey man, we just made a really good gig that like sustainable for our company, where we can like make a game that kind of gets us into like the market for young children and video games. This is really cool and wholesome. Like, these are, in my mind, the better universe id Software.
I love it. And I will say, these people, from what I can tell, were just extremely excited for the opportunity to even work on a video game at all. So you can tell that their heart went into it. Needing a teenager to make this game for him, Dean said, if you talk to a professional, they will tell you why you can't get it done. But if you need to get it done anyway, look for a teenager. Okay.
The confidence of teenagers, yes.
Absolutely.
That's true, yeah.
And the ability to throw yourself into something that you think is cool with reckless abandon.
And like once you throw yourself into it, the mental capabilities that you can develop that no grown-up will ever have. Like, it's like, I think you have the focus you have with 17, if you really want to learn something, is insane. Yep. The problem is getting the motivation to do something.
Yep. And knowing how to be motivated enough to apply yourself to things you don't want to do is an adult skill.
Yep.
Once they got the game working and playable, they had to test it as quickly as possible. They didn't have a QA team because they were a multimedia company. So they just made the whole development team play the game as much as possible, making sure that there weren't places where you could get stuck or like some kind of terrible bug. Dean said that they tried it on all the computers in the office, which was around 8, and that was the best that they could do. As far as I can tell, they did not send it out to anybody to get play tested. There just was not time. If you played the game with the CD in the drive, you could watch a 3D rendered opening cutscene. I will show you some pictures of it. I'm not going to show you the whole thing because it's like 3 minutes long. Here's the opening cutscene. A summary. The Intergalactic Federation of Cereals gets together to address the threat of the Flemoids and explains to the galactic community what they are. After a panic, they ask for a volunteer to go and fight the Flemoids, who have taken over Bazoik. A character stands up in Check's armor, and he says, "I'm from Chex Squadron, and I volunteer." And then he gets on a ship and he flies to Bazoik, where he starts zorching all of the Flemoids. Apparently, the entire cutscene was made by one person in his living room in one night.
He looks like Buzz Lightyear that got stuck in a waffle iron.
He does!
And I love the general that looks like a donut. It's really cool.
Oh, yeah. I also love, if you pay attention to the people...
You likely will, but you also have to publish these slides. They're really funny.
Oh, yeah. So just FYI to everybody, the new trend is if I have a bunch of pictures to show docs, I put it into a PowerPoint. They are in the show notes. You can go look at them yourself. I will do that pretty much in perpetuity unless it's a really short episode or something. So, okay,
awesome.
When the game was done, they literally drove the CD to FedEx at the airport so that it could fly off and be replicated. The team was very tense because they were like really terrified they were going to run into a bug that they had missed that would make the game crash and flop. It had happened to games before. They were very nervous.
Yeah.
Like if you remember when we talked, even just in the I think it was in the Doom episode, might have been Quake. They all blend together for me. There was that Lion King game that got released around the holidays and people got it on their computers and it just didn't fucking work. And it was like this massive commercial failure. That kind of thing was stewing around. In order to pay for production, they partnered with America Online. If listeners don't know America Online, we've talked about it previously. It was a massive internet service provider in the United States at the time, and they had around 3 million subscribers, I think, in 1995. Their business model involved getting CDs that they would send you, or they'd be in something, and then it would give you like free hours of internet time. Like, oh, you can be on the internet for 45 hours or something like that. So America Online offers they will print all the CDs for Chex Quest so long as they could put a free trial to their internet service on the disc. They print 5.7 million copies to put into cereal boxes. It was massive. Dean Hires says that this was the single largest mass replication of CDs ever. As far as I can tell, he is correct, and it is believed to hold the record for most replications of a CD off of a single glass master all at once. Nobody has ever done this before at this scale. I have pictures of the boxes here.
Awesome.
You want to tell people what they look like?
On the left, you can see Chex mixed with the strawberry and the texture of the strawberry and the Chex mix really nicely. So I'm sorry, we talked 20 minutes about cornflakes, so I am going to talk about the cornflakes. I'm sorry, the cornflakes look really, it's nice cornflakes packaging design. But there's also like a quarter of the front size of the cornflakes packaging. It has like on the bottom, the Chex Quest CD in it, and like a little yellow button on the bottom right where it says 50 hours free internet, and it's like CD-ROM inside, free CD-ROM inside. Man, this is good marketing. Imagine you read on your, like you have to decide for your cornflakes and you read free CD-ROM inside. That's insane, because like CD-ROMs aren't free, especially because this was the time where the CD-ROM was relevant.
The CD-ROM was king.
Relatively short time frame. Yes. And then the back of the packaging looks like a video game packaging, like with little pictures and a little summary on top. Really cool. And there's a huge main character on it,
Yep.
like shooting his little remote control thingy.
Yep, the Chex Warrior. General Mills, beyond making
Really cool.
the boxes and all this stuff, they paid for a bunch of advertising. They created a website with all kinds of stuff on it.
Shit, it's for Windows 3.1. Crazy.
Mm-hmm. They put ads in newspapers announcing the games. There was a phone number you could call if you needed help or you wanted to know where to find secrets, as was the style at the time. They ran a commercial that aired nationally. It had a sweet guitar riff and had a bunch of kids looking rad eating Chex. I'm going to show it to you, and I want you to describe it. It's not long. This was a national commercial to promote this game.
The electric guitar. and the white people rap. It's so good. And the guitar solo. Oh, and the green slime. And the kid that looks happy. This is really good. Okay, I loved it. It's like really, really zoomy cameras, like a bunch of kids. They hammer on keyboards and green slime is being shot at them. And there's like electric guitar playing and some guy is like rapping something about Chex Quest. I don't know. It's really cool.
I would
have loved this as a kid.
Yes, I would have been 8 years old at this time, and I do not remember seeing this commercial, but I would have lost my fucking mind for this commercial. I would have loved it.
Yeah, absolutely.
When
These kinds of commercials that were always like pandering the worst trash that you could ask your parents to buy you, I loved them.
Oh, yeah.
I never got the stuff that was so...
There's a fantastic, I think NPR, one of NPR's podcasts I listened to one time, talked about how the 90s were really the sort of like golden era for advertising because everyone had a TV. Like everyone had a TV, and the internet was still, that we think of, was still in its infancy. I mean, look, you're getting fucking CDs that say 50 free hours of internet, as if that's like some fucking grand thing, right? And so you could hit mass audiences. Like you knew that everybody would be watching this show at this time, and you could hit them with that fucking sweet riff in a way that you just can't permeate in the same way today.
And for some reason, people were willing to just watch ads as part of their daily entertainment, which is not the case anymore, which kind of disappeared.
I agree.
Like, I don't even have a TV in my house anymore because I don't care for this sort of medium.
Mm-hmm.
But it was huge in the 90s. And the only thing, like, I would come home after school and I would sit down in front of the TV and we would watch TV all day.
Yep.
It was insane.
Oh, yeah. I remember sprinting home one day, because I was a couple minutes late to see the new episode of Captain Planet. Do you know Captain Planet?
Yeah. Crazy. I do.
Yeah. No wonder I turned out to be an environmentalist, but here we are. Okay. So when the boxes hit the shelves in 1996, General Mills expected that the game would sell out in about 3 months or so. But the boxes sold out in 6 weeks. Dean said that he walked into a grocery store one day during this time, and he was so excited to see that they had promotional material for the game in the cereal aisle. There were giant decals of Chex Quest characters on the floor in the cereal aisle. He was so excited. Sales of Chex increased by 248%. General Mills
was a good investment.
Fucking great investment for $500,000, right? And they had done it. They had made Chex cereal, these largely flavorless squares. They had made them cool. Andrew Benson said that when he heard that number, he realized that the music he had made for Chex Quest was going to be heard by more people in the world than any other music he would make in the rest of his life. And that rate of increased sales for Chex cereal was maintained for about 8 months.
Shit.
Now, seeing how successful the game was going to be and the big project, now the timeline's a little weird here. I think that they commissioned some of this from them as it was becoming popular, because if you see here on the bottom of the box, it says, want Chex Quest 2 free? Check out chexquest.com.
I wanted to ask that.
So they gave them some money at some point in this process and said, can you make 5 more levels? And the team said, sure, but they were in a huge hurry. So they made Chex Quest 2. And Chex Quest 2, it's in this story, the Flemoids are invading the city of Chextropolis. And so that gave them some like city areas to work with, and they made a couple of new enemies. And this was available for free if you went to their website and you downloaded it. So if you had an internet connection, you went online, you could download it. Internally, those levels were incredibly rushed and are thought to have been a bit less interesting than the original 5. But still, full free new 5-level game that they made with new enemies. And they put those out. Now, the game's a hit for a time. Think about this. Suddenly, Chex Quest is in the hands of 5.7 million people. Some of these children had never even played a video game before, let alone a first-person shooter. And it was a legit game. I will tell you, in preparation to do this episode, I went back and played it. I legitimately enjoy it. It plays just like Doom, because the entire thing is just a reskinned Ultimate Doom. And it plays like a legitimate game. And so there were estimations at the time that you probably could have sold this game for around $30 in like 90s money. And you could get this at your house for the cost of a box of cereal. And so this made parents happy. And you know the meme of like, Mom, can I get Doom? And she goes, no, honey, you have Doom at home. This was the Doom at home. Okay, except it was fucking fun.
Yes. Yeah.
And so really popular with children. I read so many stories of people who said Chex Quest was literally my first video game I ever owned. But funny enough, I was reading articles and a lot of people who were like, I don't know, video game critics in the 90s gave this game a bunch of shit because they called it a Doom clone without innovating features. And I'm like, motherfuckers, this is a free Doom that you get in a box of fucking cereal. It's awesome. Like, that's the fucking draw, is that it's basically Doom, right?
And I think child-friendly gaming is something to be recognized.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it is like basically like video games are huge. I don't want to sound like one of these people that violence in video games ruins our children. I don't give a fuck. Like, I've grown up to be a nice human being, even though I've seen horrible things on the internet when I was in the 90s.
Same.
But still, I think it's a good idea to like protect children from seeing certain things until a certain age. And if you can do that by making a video game that is a clone of another game, but a bit more lighthearted, I'm completely fine, and I find that innovative.
I do too. I think that this is a really cool idea. I think that you are absolutely right that it falls on those of us who are older in society to be careful about, you know, what we expose younger generations to. And, you know, every child is different. As you said, both of us turned out fine. Some people don't, you know, and so good to sort of mitigate that and know what's best for your kid. Now, because this is Doom at its core, Chex Quest started getting immediately modded. People were like, we can mod this. This is just Doom. And so a modding community for Chex Quest sprung up. The game won 2 awards. It won a Golden Effie Award for Advertising Effectiveness in 1996 and a Golden Reggie Award for Promotional Achievement in 1998. So both advertising-related things, because ultimately that's what the game is an advertisement for Chex. But I think what's
just an ad. Yep.
What's fascinating about it is it's not like you play the game and it's like, go buy Chex. I mean, there's like little goofy Chex advertisements in the game, but they were kind of tongue-in-cheek. But it, in and of itself, is a game before it is an advertisement, I feel. Like, it's a playable game.
It's like an incentive, right? Because, you know, like, this box will contain this game. And so you buy it because you want to have the game.
Right.
And if once you bought the game, it is not necessary to sell it further. Like, you've done your job. You've incentivized the person to buy the cereal while they had the possibility to buy others. So you're fine. You don't have to sell it in the video game.
Right. Now, other brands tried their hand at including games in cereal boxes once they saw that this was a massive success. Some games that I just pulled randomly off of a list that in later years were included in cereal boxes: Age of Empires, Need for Speed, at least one of them, Roller Coaster Tycoon. These are all just like actual games that saw releases other places that you could at some point get in a cereal box. Though note, they were not released exclusively like Chex Quest was. You could only get Chex Quest from boxes of Chex during the promotion. And the only game that I can think of that has a similar branding tie, and it also involves cereal, that comes to mind is there was a Captain Crunch game that released in 1999, and it was a virtual pet game, because of course it was the 90s, virtual pets, right? Where you raised up a creature, and then you would train it, and it would fight a creature that had stolen Captain Crunch, and you'd play these mini games with it. It was a cool little thing. But surprising number of games ended up in cereal boxes. Digital Cafe ended up merging with a number of firms in 1999 to become Zentropy Partners, and a bunch of their original staff went on to their own projects or other companies within the industry. And that would theoretically be the end of things. However, this is still Doom. A community lingered, and they hungered for Chex Quest. As Andrew Benson said, when you send something to millions of people and 0.01% of people get way into it, that's a lot of people. Years later, in the early 2000s, Charles Jacoby gets an email from a fan. It was from a guy named Mark Quinn, who was a known quantity in the Doom modding community. Mark tells Charles about an effort that the community was working on to update Chex Quest to a more modern version of Doom, and also to fill out the remaining missing gaps with new content. Mark asked if Charles could contribute some new art to their effort, but Charles was pretty busy at the time and he passes on helping out. The mod comes out, and Charles plays it, and it sparked his interest in Chex Quest more than anything else had in a while. He said he continued to receive fan mail over the years, often asking, again, if he could contribute art. In 2007, he said that he found himself with some spare time, so he started sketching up a new Flemoid, the Super Cycloptus, which was like a cacodemon analog, right?
Yes.
He showed it to fans as part of a sort of 10-year anniversary thing, and fans got very excited. Excited enough that it motivated him to do more. He fires up Doom Builder and he starts making maps. He gets close to finishing his first map and he makes the decision. He would make a full-blown sequel. He gets in touch with Scott Holman and Andrew Benson, and they both contribute to the project. He dug around in the source code and started trying to figure out...
It's a Get the Band Back Together movie. It's even better.
It is!
It's like, like with id Software, how they split up. So the band splits and never, reconciles. And this is the opposite. It's like they split up, but for no bad reasons. Yeah. And then they get back together. It's like Blues Brothers.
I'm so happy at how happy this is making you.
This is so good.
He digs around in the source code. He starts trying to learn C++. It was a little challenging and there was a lot of trial and error, but when he was done, he had a sequel, all created in Z-Doom. Z-Doom is one of the most popular Doom ports. Oh, wait, here are some pictures.
Oh, these look so smooth and nice now. Ooh, look at this. It's quick.
The story goes that it's not quick.
But it's not
The story goes that the Flemoids had started a full-blown invasion of the Chex homeworld named Ralston, and it was up to you again to stop them. The community loved it. He also, during this release, gave the first two games a makeover and released them as well. I have played this version. It holds up great. You can find it on, everywhere. It was released for free because it was still owned by General Mills, so he couldn't, release it as a game. Now... Again, you may think that's the end of Chex Quest. However, in 2016, General Mills announced an HD remake of Chex Quest to be released onto the internet for free. They hired Charles again to work on the game, and he was thrilled. Further, in 2019, General Mills officially released Chex Quest 3, making it part of the official Chex Quest canon.
The official Chex Quest canon.
There's deep lore on the Flemoids, Docs. Come on.
Dude, I gotta know the history of that
Here's
goop,
the HD
man.
remake.
Tell me the backstory. Who's the dad of that goop? Does Dead Goop have a daughter?
Well, you see, that's Dead Goop Senior. Here's the HD version. The entire thing was done in the Unreal Engine.
Fuck. It looks so cool.
It does, doesn't it?
Crazy.
It's a full remake of the original game. It has several playable characters, all based on things that go into Chex Mix. It released on Steam in 2020. It is free to play, and it even has fucking multiplayer. You can play multiplayer HD Chex Quest. It was also during this time that they finally revealed the Chex Warrior's real name, Fred Chexter.
Fred Chexter. This is good.
There has been some really fun Chex Quest swag that has been released over the years. In 2020, Limited Run Games, I'm going to show you some. Limited Run Games did a physical edition there in the top left that was super fucking rad. I deeply regret not buying this game.
$149.99 Chex Warrior Edition, and you get like the real remote control shooty thing and a little floppy disk, and you get like a poster where the Chex Warrior looks like luscious and interested in you, and like a Chex Warrior box, and there's like stickers and enamel pins. And this is so nice.
I love those enamel pins. I will tell you that when I was doing research for this episode, I went online to see if I could find those enamel pins anywhere else, and they do not exist outside of this edition. If you are a listener to this podcast and you want to donate to the Tyler hoards enamel pins of his childhood collection, please hit me up. I need these, please.
Tyler will sell his firstborn child to you to get those enamel pins.
I don't even have one. I don't have a firstborn child yet, but we can like put it on order, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure my wife will understand.
Yeah, like Rumpelstiltskin. Rumpelstiltskin?
Yeah, Rumpelstiltskin, except with Chex pins.
Yeah.
They also made a Chex Quest comic series in 2020. You can find it online for free. The opening
looks
is
sick.
The foreword is done by the Angry Video Game Nerd, if you know his content. Nice. He did an episode on Chex Quest and wanted to talk shit on it and was like, this game is too good for me to talk shit on. It's great. Further, down there at the bottom, there is a vinyl pressing of the soundtrack that exists, and I own it. And we'll come back to that in a minute. Okay, Chex Quest, I personally think, is an incredibly interesting case study of a game that existed in a very specific time period of advertising and technology and game engines. And I think this was incredibly innovative for what it was, because at its heart, it was truly an advertisement for a brand of cereal. But it spawned a cult following that still continues to this day. Often, when folks try out Chex Quest, they are surprised at how much it holds up. Like I said, I played it recently. I had a great time. I showed it to my wife. We had a good laugh about the goofy noises that they make. It's so fun. My guess, if I had to there's no data on this, let me be clear, but I think that this is, if not the most popular Doom mod ever, it's one of the most popular Doom mods ever, because you have to think it went out to 5.7 million people. Can you say
highly likely? Yes, of course. Yeah.
And I think that the reason that it has had such a lasting effect over time is because you could continue to create levels for it, and it spawned all these fan-made sequels, unofficial projects, tons of stuff. I even saw one during researching this episode that there is a randomizer that you can get that make you random Chex Quest levels that you can play forever. So fucking great. Here's Charles again. I think the biggest reason it was successful and remains playable to this day is that the game is still Doom. The colorful art and goofy sounds made it a hit with kids for sure, but its enduring quality is that it is fun to play. So Digital Cafe is no more.
Follow the fun.
Follow the fun. Absolutely. Digital Cafe's done, but let's talk about where the people that we mentioned in this episode, where they went when they made games. Dean hires, after Digital Cafe closed, Dean went on to do some work in the movie industry for a time, and then he had a co-founder, and they started a company called Sage Presence, which he's been doing for 24 years. It is a company that coaches business professionals on sort of how to present themselves in various forms, a coaching thing for businesses. Mike Koenig's has been in a lot of roles over the years, mostly helping businesses figure out how to market their brand and get seen online. He wrote a book about marketing. He's been a consultant for a bunch of celebrities. His most recent gig is a company called the Superpower Accelerator that mostly does more of the kind of stuff I already mentioned. Charles Jacoby stayed in the gaming industry, working at a number of companies until he got a job at Electronic Arts. He worked on several Command & Conquer games and a couple Lord of the Rings games. He then took a job at Pipeworks Software, where he has worked for over 15 years. He still occasionally does interviews and has become, in my opinion, sort of the face of Chex Quest. Teenage developer Scott Holman stayed at Digital Cafe until it closed, and since then has done a lot of freelance software development. He is currently the engineering developer at a company called Signition, which is a company that does virtual tutoring for students. Andrew Benson, from what I can tell, stayed on to work at Zentropy after Digital Cafe closed. He left in 2002 to join a company called Straight Line Theory, that helps people create websites or apps. He has been there for close to 23 years. Now, I have something special. I don't do this for every episode, but before we wrap up, I asked a few of our regulars if they had ever played this game and if they wanted to share any of their experiences. Unsurprisingly, nobody that I asked who lives outside of the United States has ever played this game, which makes sense since it was only released in the United States market. Now, I'm saying I have a sample size of the people I talked to. Surely people outside the United States have played Chex Quest, but here are some stories. Alex: we didn't often buy cereal as a kid, but I think my mom bought the Chex Quest box because it had a game in it. I played it a lot. I think I found most of the secrets and could beat the levels in under par. I wasn't able to download the second episode because we didn't have internet and it was too big to fit on floppies, not even one file at a time. I didn't play it until I saw that one of the original devs decided to make the third episode themselves and re-release them all together many years later. David: in middle school, someone brought a copy of Chex Quest in and installed it on all the computers in our typing class. I don't know why, but I remember laughing a lot at using a spoon as a weapon. It was a lot of fun for a Doom clone, as there were many free ones in the mid-90s. It was great having a fully playable fun game straight from a CD in a cereal box. Nick says, I think my mom got us Chex just because it had a free game in it. I don't remember liking Chex. I don't know if I've really got much to say about it other than I beat it a lot. I've never felt the need to play Doom because I've played the superior version of it already. Nico says, I remember thinking it was so wild that there was a weird cereal game. I wanted it so badly when I was a kid. For some reason, it was like peak coolness. I didn't even know why. But then I got it, and it was so silly. I was playing some Chex guy in space that was zapping other weird, evil cereal people with a laser remote. What the hell even was that? With that being said, the only other computer game I played around that time was The Sims, so I guess the fact that it was new and weird and totally different from The Sims was why I liked it so much. Man, the nostalgia. Then I suppose it's time to tell you my own story. So I had a copy of Chex Quest. If memory serves, which it's very hazy from this time, I don't think I got it in a box of cereal. I think someone got it in a box of cereal and gave it to me because I don't have like the packaging that came with it. I only have the CD. I played it and beat the first game. I never played 2. I never played 3. Years later, I stumbled across the aforementioned vinyl version of the soundtrack, and I thought, what a goofy thing to own. I would love to have this. I picked it up. And so some of you know that occasionally I will play video game music on my stream. When I stream sometimes, and I was playing the vinyl copy of Chex Quest. And I was sort of lamenting that I had early in the, when we were making these episodes, I had this idea to do an episode on adver games, right? So like I'm really fascinated by sort of these games that are just largely advertisements for other things. But I never ended up putting it together. I couldn't find any kind of good coherency, and I sort of ditched the idea. And I was saying that night, I was like, I should at least do an episode on Chex Quest. And so then, as I mentioned earlier in the episode, I started digging. I found out they use the Doom engine. I thought, I should do the Doom episode first. And then, over a year went by. We have 6 episodes on id Software. So, it was Doom that made Chex Quest possible, but it was Chex Quest that made it possible for us to do episodes on Doom.
This is so nice. This is the perfect 7th id Software episode because it basically makes it all come to a good end. Even, and this is why I like that we did this one last. So this is really good. I like that this inspired the id Software epos, but I also like that you also finished this one and told me the story, because this was hilarious. Thank you so much.
You're absolutely welcome. I want to thank some people. So first off, thanks to everybody who listens to us. It's been really great being back making episodes. I cannot guarantee to any of you that we will be able to keep up the death schedule. Our lives are changing before us, and it may be a while before we get episodes out. Who fucking knows? Maybe it could be a year, it could be next week. But I appreciate all of you who stick with us, and I want to do some special thanks here too. First, our editor Andre, I'm serious. I think he literally asked me 6 times when I was going to do the Chex Quest episode. He knew that this was spawned, that the Doom thing was spawned from Chex Quest. And he'd be like, and then you're going to do the Chex Quest episode, right? And I'd be like, I'm so fucking tired. Do you know how much work I've done? I'm so tired of this shit. And he's like, you got to do the Chex Quest episode. You got to do it. Come on, man. And then I was in the Discord with our friends, Alex and Carrie, who also, knew about this. And they're like, so when's the Chex Quest episode? I'm like, motherfucker, fine. I'll fucking do the Chex Quest episode. Fine. And they're like, oh, okay. We're pressuring you to do the thing that you committed to doing. Ooh. And anyway, I'm giving them shit, but I appreciate those 3 people specifically for pushing me to finish this episode, because if you had not, I probably would have lost the thread again. So I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much.
I must say that I feel like I usually give Tyler shit all the time when we communicate, because I'm a piece of shit. But he's been so nice to me all the time. And I feel like other people get like the reactions that I deserve. So I must apologize to all you guys that Tyler got mad at for pressuring him to do things that he committed to do.
It turns out I'm easily peer pressurable. So
maybe, yes.
All right. Well, another episode down. I think that's it. Any last parting thoughts? Man. Of course.
Nothing.
All right, friends. Thanks again. Stay safe out there. Catch you later. See ya.
Bye.
Probably didn't expect our editor Andre.
I think he's in the flow and he just can't stop.
Goofy little game that came out recently called Codex Rex.
It starts like you feel like you start playing the game and you're like, I know this kind of
podcast at a famous sanitarium.
If you really commit to it, do everything you have to do.
Ducks. Tyler. Podcast. Crazy Town. Yeah, surprisingly fun. Serial podcast. And so it's like kind of different every time you play it. I've really been enjoying it.
I don't know what's happening.